Hey, hi, and welcome everybody to episode number 85 of the danjohnuniversity.com podcast. Welcome back, and let's get started. Our first question is from Eric, and it's a good question. Though I'll tell you, Eric, it's going to wander into some politics and some other issues. So let's look at it. I was wondering what your thoughts are in regards to kettlebell certifications. Well, my RKC certification down there in San Jose was really illuminating. I learned a lot about myself, frankly. It was really a hard 3 days. I felt miserable the whole time. That was the one where we were stationed next to the San Jose airport. And every time a plane went over, we had to do 10 swings. Well, what I did is in my evaluation, by the way, signed, I always use my name. I was very critical about the fact that an instructor would be trying to teach us something very simple, and we kept getting broken away, and the instructor never got a chance to finish their thoughts. And what was nice to see is over the time, that actually improved things. I didn't like a lot of the things about those early RKCs. People who didn't really have, I don't even know how to say it, the gravitas to talk about being macho or coming off being, and I didn't like that. Since that time, especially when I run a cert, I try very hard to be, I'm trying to turn you into the best kettlebell instructor you can be. And that's supposed to be the goal. So what do I think about kettlebell certifications? I think they're amazing. The thing I like about the kettlebell, and I've said this 100 times, is that the kettlebell teaches human movement in the way it kind of should be done. The kettlebell swing teaches the hinge, a correctly done kettlebell swing, teaches the hinge better than anything I've ever seen. The goblet squat, that brilliant invention by me, teaches the squat pattern better than anything. And there's only one thing I've come up with since then that's is as good or better, and that's the bear hug squat. It's when you have like a 100-pound wrestling bag and you walk with it, and I'd say squat, and then you squat perfectly. The Turkish get-up became a religion, and of course we brought that around finally. The snatch test is a bugaboo, and a lot of people spend way too much time worrying about it. In my perfect world, I don't know if I'd have the snatch test, but at the RKC2, as I've mentioned before, it would be the 10-minute snatch test, 200 reps with the 24 kilo for men, 16 or 12 for women, and the half body weight press within half an hour. And if you can do that, you don't have to prove anything else to me with the kettlebell. I think you're fine. I like them a lot. I think the real value to them. Every time I do a kettlebell cert, something comes up, an issue comes up, we solve it, and I feel like I'm a better instructor after that. So, Eric, it's a good question. It's going to upset some people, I'm sure. Everything seems to upset people nowadays, but good question. And if you are interested in kettlebell certification, Eric, I do them a lot, and you can look on Dragon Door to find out where I'd see you. I also do some kettlebell instructional courses all the time, and you'd always be welcome to be part of that. I hope that helps. Thanks. We have a question from Petery. Have you ever trained low responders? Now, when I first read this, I had to think about what you meant. I thought, because when I hear responder, I think first responders, I have a brother-in-law as a first responder. Many of my cousins are first responders, and it's a big thing in my family. But then I read a little bit more. If so, how do you do things differently than you do with athletes or even average people in general? I generally find myself very interested in fitness, but seem to be unable to progress anywhere and to stick to one approach for very long. I have studied and tried several different ways to train, but feel that I am some kind of genetic freak that can't make good progress with anything. Well, it's funny because my good friend from college, Crazy Jerry, was the same way. We experimented with everything because he wanted to get a little bit, he wanted to put on some muscle. And we tried 1 set to failure. We tried 3 sets to 8. We just kept trying everything. And he like you, was a low or non-responder. So what do? Well, you have to step back and, by the way, and this is just genetic roulette. I mean, there are people, Bill Pearl famously told my coach, Dick Notmeyer, that all he had to do was go like this with the air and his arms would get bigger. I mean, So, I mean, there are people who are just better at some things. I mean, people who are born fast tend to be fast. People who are born tall tend to be tall. So maybe we have to first say, okay, uh, there's that. I would do this if you could, is that instead of having a multi-week approach, have a multi-year approach. Um, I have yet to see somebody who hasn't made progress doing the power lifts. Now, I'm an Olympic lifter, just got in from an Olympic lifting session, but I have to tell you, the power lifts tend to work with people who are low responders better than even bodybuilding. And I think it's because everything about powerlifting is true progressive resistance exercise. Uh, Maybe in the Olympic lifts it's too technical. Maybe in bodybuilding it's, well, who even knows, what makes people grow anymore because of all the all the extra stuff people put in themselves. But um, if I were you, I'd go look at the work of Marty Gallagher, who's a good friend of mine and a genius. And you might even want to look at his one workout a day template. You'll find his blog over Raw. Uh, it is called Raw, and I think it's at Iron Company. If you can't find it, ping me and I'll get back to you. You might want to try his 1 day a week program. You might want to get his excellent book, Purposeful Primitive, which I think is one of the best books ever made. His other book, Strong Medicine, has a lot of other information. And I don't want to hurt Marty's business, but some of his best work can be found at Dan John University in the download section, and I hope that helps. I would look into the programs he has there, and I think you might find a lot of benefits to them. Thanks so much. I hope that helps. We have a question from Daniel. Here's a funny thing, Daniel. Daniel, we're both doing the same program. I have a question about easy strength Olympic lifting. Since I have a pretty tight schedule, I can only train my strength training for 3 days a week. I have been doing some Olympic lifting before, so the movements aren't new for me. But I'm not sure I can handle the Big 21 right now. I wouldn't do the Big 21 unless you need to do the Big 21. For the listeners who don't know what I'm talking about, go to the workout generator, type it in. It is a very, very difficult workout. I ask you to do up to 63 lifts a day, clean and press, snatch, and clean and jerk, over 9 workouts in 3 weeks, and every single workout gets progressively harder. Um, Easy strength is much easier. Maybe the word helped. But the Big 21 is a program I use for Olympic lifters and throwers. And I did use it a few times for American football. And I might even recommend in the deep off season that might be a real good thing for a team to do. Tell you one thing, outside of the contact of American football and rugby, you'll find out more about your athletes in those 3 weeks than you will in any other thing you do. If an athlete is constantly hiding and cheating on reps, that's the athlete that's gonna hide and cheat in games too. That's what I discovered. So first off, don't even consider it. Now, to the question about just doing it 3 days a week, that's fine. You might even, on the other 2 days or 3 or 4 days a week, I wouldn't mind you doing a broomstick and some kind of thing like what I do as my warm up. I take a PVC pipe or a broomstick. I do 8 snatch grip Romanian deadlifts, 8 hang snatches, 8 overhead squats, 8 back squats with just the stick, and then I'm practicing my positions there. Do I have to change the rep schemes in order to get the same benefits as 5 days a week program, or will I get the same benefits but the program will take me a bit longer to finish? I would just stick with the reps as they are, and just so your day 4 will be week 2 day 1, your day 5 will be week 2 day 2, and just keep going like that. Well, but asking if this can be the same benefits, what I'd like you to do is get in a time machine and do easy strength 5 days a week, and then jump back in time and then do it 3 days and compare results. I don't know. I don't know if the benefits will be the same. The thing about easy strength is that your load is whatever is manageable that day. And I got to tell you, folks, and when I do easy strength programs, I'm surprised how some days my load is kind of embarrassing. And some days it's like, bring on the world. So I don't know. I hope that helps. Let's talk again soon. Daniel, get back to me on this 3 days a week thing. And if you come up with a nice little insights on it, I'd like to take what you write, maybe add to it, and make it maybe an article, or maybe even add it to the system. Okay, thanks. We have a question from Logan. I went to college in Logan, Utah. After running Mass Made Simple, I haven't been enjoying immense strength and hypertrophy gains. Well, if you don't, you can punch me in the face. I finished MMS back in December, but feel like I am capping out on my current programs and feel like mixing it up. Okay, reminder, after you finish Mass Made Simple, you just do simple whole body workouts, maybe 3 days a week. Use the workout generator and give yourself time to come back to whatever normal is for you, okay? But no one follows my wise advice. A little full of myself. My primary goal is strength, so I have become very interested in even easier strength. I am trying to keep the faith in the program as I read more about it, but I am worried about losing this hard-earned hypertrophy. Have you noticed any secondary effects in regard to hypertrophy running EES or any easy strength variation? Lean body mass doesn't tend to disappear overnight if you still train. So you're going to do a hypertrophy program followed by an easy strength program. I generally recommend the opposite, but I like where your head's at. Here's the thing. If you notice yourself doing even easier strength and you start to lose the hypertrophy, that if that's what you want to keep, then just increase the reps. Instead of doing the rule of 10, do the rule of 25 or 30. Instead of doing 5 sets of 2, do 5 sets of 5. Instead of doing 3 sets of 3, do 3 sets of 8. That should be enough. Is there any diet recommendations you recommend when running an easy strength program? Yeah, actually, because it's so easy, you can really experiment. If you decide that you're going to go all in on vegetarian, even easy strength is a good time to do it. If you're going to go all carnivore, easy strength is a good time to do it, because you don't lose a lot of mental energy doing those simple programs. Basically, like, I would not change this. More veggies, more protein, more water. One time I experimented with increasing my beans. I just read a book about increasing beans, and I did easy strength, and I got to tell you, it took a few days for my body to adapt to the beans. Thankfully, there's no squats in the program I was doing, so if you get what I'm trying to say. The nice thing about easy strength is it's so reasonable, you can focus on tougher food and meal choices. So whatever you think is appropriate in the world of diet, it might help you. Thank you. We got a question from Jamie. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the practicalities of training with kettlebells wearing a kilt. Well, if you're regimental, man, and you swing, you bring that bell back really hard, yeah, depending on the weather, if it's cold, you're fine. Yeah. But if you're wearing something underneath, I don't think it matters. I wear a kilt a lot with the Scottish events I go to and the Irish events now, and I don't think I've ever done a kettlebell workout in a kilt. I have thrown, obviously, in kilts. You can go online and see my video on YouTube. It's called Dan John Pleasanton Caber or something like that, and you can see me flip a caber in a kilt. But great question, Jamie, and I hope that helped further the body of training knowledge in kiltdom. Thank you. Jim asks a good question. Do you have any thoughts or advice on substance abuse? I'm a vet and have been addicted to marijuana for the past 3 years. Here's an interesting thing. Jim, I'm not disagreeing with you. I didn't know you could be addicted to marijuana. I didn't know that. Of course, someone once told me you can truly be addicted to anything when it elbows your way out of other aspects of life. So maybe so. I started to avoid the drugs the VA gave me, but the anger and depression remain. Jim, obviously this is a medical intervention thing. I want you to know from my heart that I grew up in a home of vets. disabled American veterans, and I know the issues. And this isn't me like I took a class. This is me at, you know, eight 8 years old, second grade, third grade, uh, helping undress my brother after a particularly bad night. Um, I was in the second grade. I had to help another brother one time when he came downstairs, white as a sheet, covered in his own vomit, trying to deal with something. I grew up watching people with malaria attacks. So listen, man, to quote my good friend Frank Sinatra, whatever gets you through the night. But I do, Jim, I'm begging you, I would like you to be sure you're getting help there. I'm not saying the marijuana is bad or good. I'm just saying that you're very candid about the anger and the depression. I would like you to maybe either get to a support group. Uh, Jim, if you're we are rebuilding some of the men's groups that I used to belong to, and basically it's fascinating. You sit around and I know it sounds goofy, but you have the talking stick, and so when you have the talking stick, and it could be anything, that means you're allowed to sit there and wait as long as you like and say or say nothing. There's no crosstalk allowed. There's no questions, and you can talk. And I got to tell you, that is having that talking stick, so you're allowed to give yourself time to come up with an appropriate phrase or explanation. I learned things of some of my friends. All of a sudden, they would just start to talk about something in their past or something going on in their home. And the fact that no one cross-talked them and interrupted them was the first time in their life, in some cases, they ever got a chance to finish a statement. Jim, I'd like you to look into some support groups, but I'd also like you to I mean, there's plenty of resources about anger, depression, but not as many about anger. In full candor, I see a person about my anger and rage issues. I think they got caused mostly by the concussions that I dealt with. And if you're dealing with the same kind of thing from the military side, with the massive depression from like the concussion and things like that, I work with a friend who told me frankly one day, this is what the Marines used for ear protection. And he has massive issues with sleep and things like that. And it's all because of the amount of damage done to his ears while being a Marine. Jim, I appreciate this question. If you have further questions, you ping us, and then ask. If you can't find my email, ping the podcast and tell Brian to send this to me, and then maybe we can talk one-on-one. Thank you, and I'll do anything I can to help you. Well, we have an unusual question here, so let's look at it. Scott asks, given your educational background in history and theology, I was interested in getting your perspective. How would you respond to a student who asked the following questions? What the difference is between the Irish and the Scots? Well, they're both wonderful people. The Romans never conquered the Scots, and the Romans also had the wisdom not to mess with the Irish. Both cultures are intertwined, probably with the Celtic roots. Both really strived to hold on to their Celtic roots for a long time. We still don't really know where the ancient Irish came from. Some argue from the same region the Basques are, and we're still breaking down a lot of the things. And this is going to upset a lot of people, but one of the biggest problems both have had is with the English. Sorry, but it's true. When you look at it from the perspective of this millennium, both of them have, both cultures are in an amazing renaissance. Um, Irish Irish literature is just amazing. I mean, in the last 100+ years, the poetry, the music, the writing, the short stories have just been stunning. On with the Scottish side here in the United States, Scottish pride, I think, has actually gotten back to the Scots themselves. Um, what's the biggest difference? I would say that the Scots like a little bit more peat in their whiskey, and the Irish like a little bit clear whiskey. And that's a pretty good summary. Thank you. Roy asks, I'm a father of 3 boys. The eldest is nearly 14 and a baseball player playing outfield. He has always been one of the fastest kids in town, which has been great for many aspects of the game. He has a great arm and core strength as well. Our family is shorter than many. I'm 5'6" and 166 pounds, and I believe that he will need to develop pretty massive power to compete in the hitting aspect of the game when he gets older to stand out and have greater opportunities to play at higher levels. How would you approach training for baseball players, primarily with batting as compared to other sports? When I work with baseball players, I train them like throwers. I think they have the same power law a thrower has. Uh, Baseball, from my observations, is a bunch of people standing around for hours at a time, and then boom, something happens. So I have my baseball players do a lot of loaded carries. Um, the guys I work with who are baseball experts uh, now agree with me 100% that the suitcase and the farmer walk carries um, are life changers for baseball players. Oddly, it strengthens the shoulder. Somebody explained it to me one time, and I instantly forgot it because it was all anatomy. As I often say, I knew what I liked when I was 14, so I never studied anatomy. Most people don't get that joke. Um, Baseball players play on a power law. Anytime I see baseball players jogging, I just think, oh, what a waste of time. Um, Baseball players have to be able to hop up off the bench and perform at a high level. Uh, Hitting is throwing. Throwing is throwing. The bulk of the game of baseball is throwing. So um, if you need volume, you should medicine ball, same like a thrower. You should do the big lifts, the explosive lifts, just like a thrower. And hill sprints should be your best friend, just like a thrower. That's how I train baseball players. Sadly, most of baseball strength information has been destroyed by the amount of anabolic steroid use in the major leagues, and of course all the amphetamines. But but there's a whole bunch of people, and I'm very proud to say that one of my good friends is a leader in this, are finally getting around to the idea that baseball players need to squat, need to hinge, need to pull, not just do arm work, the idiotic curls. If you think tricep extensions make you throw the ball faster, you are too stupid to be listening to my podcast, okay? All right. We have a follow-up from Roy. Specific to track and field, he has expressed interest in sprinting as a way to improve base running. I'm wondering, are there events beyond just even the running events that you would think he would be beneficial to try out? Tell you one thing, Roy, you'll find out if your son's fast or not. I always love it when kids come out for track thinking that they're fast, because there's fast in I don't know, in a schoolyard, and there's track and field fast. But my baseball players, I usually had them do the 4x100 relay when they would come out, because most of them could never figure out how to start. So we'd had a track athlete do that, and we'd put them at number 2 or number 3 because we could teach that baton pass fairly well. They were usually pretty skilled at catching. So the 4x1, I mean, obviously, if the kid is as great as you think, the javelin might be an idea. Of course, if he throws it with his arm, his career will be 10 throws. Terry Bradshaw, of course, the great NFL quarterback, was also the national champion in the javelin. Of course, Garth Brooks, that was an Oklahoma State javelin thrower. So I don't know, if he wants to be a country and western singer, maybe he should throw the javelin too. But I would say, he's not going to have the time to really learn the hurdles. Track will help him. One thing, it'll expose how fast he truly is. I remember we had this wide receiver at the school I was at. He told me, Coach, I'm going to do you a favor. And I thought, yeah, what? He goes, I'm coming out for track this year. And I thought, what are you going to do? He goes, I'll be a sprinter. And I said, okay, I'm just warning you, you're going to get exposed. And he lasted one track meet. In the 100 meters, he was so far back that you had to use a calendar for his time. So I'm just warning you, if you want your ego to get knocked down, go out for track and field. All right. Hope that helps. Thank you. Bye. Got a question from Bill. I'm 64 and I've always been active and have been training regularly for about 15 years. Ah, good for you. That's great. I'm not a jacked, super strong guy, but I'm fitter than 90% of guys my age. Yeah. If you want to win the war, wait until you're 65. Yeah. I'd probably be a poster boy for senior health and fitness, except for one thing. I have an inherited kidney disease. I just passed the threshold where I'm eligible to be put on a transplant list. I signed the papers today. Okay, I don't want to give you medical advice. I've learned something in the past few weeks. They don't just hand out organs to anyone who needs one, even if you show up with a live donor. Yeah, true. I tried to donate a kidney, and I thought it was a perfect match, and no. I don't know why. There are extensive series of tests you have to go through first. Amazing number, I know. Basically, they're not wasting a kidney on someone who has heart issues, smokes, is morbidly obese, or has any kind of cancer. Yeah, that's true. Good news for me. I passed. I talked to the transplant surgeon today. She said, I've heard a lot about you. You're different from what we normally see here. You're strong and fit. You're likely to get through surgery much easier than most. Oh, good for you. I mean, really, good for you. I'll probably be a few years until surgery becomes necessary. I'll keep hitting the gym in the meantime. The reason I write this is to remind younger folks that working out isn't just about looking impressive in the gym or swole poolside. There are real, potentially life-saving benefits to being fit and healthy. Huh. Boy, I got to thank you, Bill, for that. Bill, obviously, anyone listens to the podcast, you're preaching to the choir, but I thank you for preaching to the choir. It's a good reminder for all of us. Every doctor I've ever, and of course, because my athletic career, I've had a lot of surgeries to fix stuff I've broken as an athlete. And every doctor has always told me basically what I'm hearing here. Thank you for showing up in great shape, or as good a shape as you can do, considering the fact that, you've got, you got this issue. So yeah, there you go, gentle listener. There's Bill. Bill has an inherited problem, but because he trains, he's in a better place. We can only do so much with our DNA, but one thing we can do is do the best job we can. So, Bill, thank you, and I hope the young people will listen. Thanks. Got a question from Manuel. I'm wondering if it would be a good idea to combine my gymnastics with moderate kettlebell training, or to switch completely. Oh, no, Manuel. I got to tell you, my friend, gymnastics with kettlebell training. Oh, yeah, I don't know. You could do anything better. That's actually pretty good. I mean, I'm a big fan if you can do, the workout that shall not be named, but anybody I've ever worked with any kind of gymnastics background just seems so far ahead of the rest of us. So no, if you can do both, okay? Let's go on the second part. He says, I don't want to ride two horses with one butt. That's good. I'll have to steal that. Which is why I wonder if intelligent kettlebell training is as good for longevity and health as moderate gymnastics. My main goal is to train and enjoy life until my 100th birthday. Well, the only problem is going to be this, and that's why, just remember, I would do the gymnastics as long as you can, because that's going to teach you tension. The kettlebell is going to teach you beyond tension how to use your body explosively and move. But there is going to be a time, Manuel, where you're going to have to shift over to just general bodybuilding mobility. The nice thing, though, is you're going to be coming in with such an advantage from your background. So Yeah, when you're in your 90s, you'll have to back off onto the kettlebell swings to maybe once or twice a week. When you turn 100, I don't know, do the snatch test on your 100th birthday and give me a call and I'll be there for you. Got a question from David. I love rucking and the addition of the fat loss generator. It's a really nice way to get some fitness in. Uh, I agree. I agree. I cannot believe what rucking has done for my fat loss. In regards to the walk part, would it work to occasionally sub in some heavy bag work while keeping the heart rate in the intended zone that we're looking for? Okay, I don't know what you mean by bag work. Is it punching bag or is it carrying bags? I'm fine with the punching bag. And if you're going to do the punching bag, don't worry about your heart rate. Pretend you're in a fight and go for it. It's okay to go for it sometimes. Um, I'm thinking more around bad weather situations. Although I do enjoy getting some time on the bag. Okay, it must be the punching bag. Uh, yeah, when the weather's bad in my place, we try to do things. I get it, but if there's 3 feet of snow, my cardio is shoveling. So yeah, I think that'd be just great. I wouldn't mind sometime if you had a heart rate monitor on, and you did something and to figure out, like I don't know, what. I wouldn't want to say like punches or strikes per minute. It would be interesting, but what would it take to get your heart rate in those Maffetone zones, hitting the bag? Is it punch, punch, punch? Is it boom, boom, boom? I don't know. That might be a fun thing for you to look at, and it would be really interesting if you could get like a couple dozen people and figure out those numbers, because we don't have it right now, and I gotta tell you, Dave, it'd be a fun thing to have. I hope that helps. Thanks so much. We have a question from Sam. And Sam says, I love the style of easy strength workouts, and it got me thinking, is this style of workout mimicking the style of work that farmers do? Oh, I never thought of that. Well, I know one thing, if a farmer is going to work to exhaustion, it's probably to save something or somebody's life. You probably don't want to go to exhaustion, picking eggs for breakfast. I don't see the value of that. I like this. Any farmer boy or girl has the high frequency lower load and some of the strongest people out there. Same for mechanics and rig workers. Also, during easy strength, is it important to put as much force behind the exercise, almost mimicking speed work? Okay, first, I like your idea on farmers and riggers. When I worked for a moving company, I tell you one thing, there is nothing like the tired you have on Friday after your first full week of 8 to 10 hours of moving people. That when someone says, let's go out, and it's weird because, if you go out Friday night, you'll notice the beers are like analgesics, It's like, oh, thank you. There's nothing like moving for that low end. And you don't go to failure moving a couch. If you do, you're in trouble because then you got to pick up a chair. I like where your head's at here. On your question about easy strength and this, how much force, I really think it helps to maintain as much tension as you can. When I even do something like today, I was doing the easy strength for Olympic lifting. Even when I'm just doing the PVC or the broomstick, I'm still trying to hit the speed I want to hit. Like I'm doing a hang snatch with the broomstick. I'm still trying to mimic what's going to be like at the meet. So, but it's a question of tension, not speed. I guess since I have so much time under the bar, I don't think about it maybe as much as you do, but I think you're on the right track here. Let me think about it, Sam. I think you're on the right track mentally. Thank you for your question, and I will ask around about it and think about it some more. Thanks so much. Well, there you go, the Dan John University podcast. Remember, if you have questions, podcast at danjohnuniversity.com, and I'll do my best to answer each and every one. Thank you, and we'll see you again soon.